Dennis the Menace Cruise Control is a really great film, and it led me down a path of research, and I want to share some interesting facts, some mind-blowing facts, actually, that I actually didn't know. This could be really common knowledge, but I was going to start this discussion off by saying I really like this version of Dennis the Menace. I much prefer him to the version that wears the red and black jumper, the much more, in my opinion, naughty version of Dennis. And then I did a quick research into trying to work out why the character changed. Well, it turns out, and this could be common knowledge, I could be late to the party, they're not the same character. They were both created independently by different cartoonists. David Law created the red and black jumper Dennis, and Hank Ketchum created the Dennis with blonde hair. Okay, fair enough, but here's the crazy thing. They both independently first appeared in comic strips in the same week, in March of 1951. What are the odds of that? Absolutely crazy. So my point still stands. I prefer this blonde Dennis. I think the character is much more likable. But I learned something interesting because I watched this film, and I really appreciate the opportunity there to learn some more. So my mind is blown the same week. Absolutely incredible. This film was released quite a bit later in 2002. It's directed by Patrick A. Ventura, and it's written by Steve Granat and Cydne Clark, of course, based on the characters by Hank Ketchum. And we have a voice cast including Peter Cronkite, Tim Arnold, Jim Byrnes, Garry Chalk, Maurice LaMarche, and various others. And the story is really good. Mr. Wilson wants to go on a cruise to escape Dennis, but it turns out Dennis and his friends are also on the cruise and having their own adventure. There's a little bit more to the story. There's actually quite a lot of detail. It's a very well written, well fleshed out story. And we have this childlike wonder of the adventure that works really, really well. The pacing is also really great. Got to the point really quickly. It packs a lot in. Obviously, we're in various different locations to keep it fresh and interesting. So as a story, I thought it was a great idea, and it certainly works really, really well. Great characters, of course, and really good voice acting. Again, I find this version of Dennis to be much more likeable. If you've never seen the UK version, if you perhaps grew up with the US version, I'd say check it out. The character is presented in a way that's very different. And it's not that I don't like the TV show. I certainly grew up watching it here and there. But in terms of the character, his personality, quite vastly different. I don't know if that's the same now. I think there's a more recent version called Dennis and Nasher, and I think the character might be toned down a bit. But either way, I love this version of Dennis. I just think the character is so likeable and such an interesting character. And that obviously is no different with this film either. Gorgeous animation, really great character designs, beautiful backdrops, gorgeous colour palette, really beautiful to look at. Great use of music. I wrote down great voice acting twice, so I guess I was impressed with that. Really good fun. Dennis the Menace Cruise Control is a thoroughly enjoyable film on its own, a really great experience, and maybe later than it should have been. I'm glad that I finally got some information about the UK versus the US Dennis the Menace. I don't know why I never questioned it, because I knew the UK Dennis was created in Scotland, and I knew the US Dennis was a US character. I don't know why I never questioned it. Either way, I got some education, really thoroughly enjoyed that. Really great film, certainly happy to recommend it.